Welcome to another edition of Diplomatic Channel, coming to you from Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, but also from the Founding Day exhibition of the kingdom itself, a special exhibition that tells the history of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
The Saudi state, we have the first area, which was to the...
Our tour guide is Haya Al-Husseini, the head of Translation and Foreign Bulletins Department in the Saudi Press Agency. The exhibition was launched in the main headquarters of the Saudi Press Agency ahead of the Kingdom's 93rd National Day on September 23rd, celebrating the proclamation that renamed the Kingdom of Najd and Hejazes the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 1932 through a royal decree by King Abdulaziz ibn Saud.
Also here we have the current area, which is located at the heart of the Arabian Peninsula and which enabled it to be the place for a big and strong state, and that's why we care about Diriyah. It was the first state, the capital of the first Saudi state. And the founder of the Saudi state is Imam Muhammad bin Saud.
In this exhibition, we target the people who want to know anything about the history of their country, from the elementary school to the university, and researchers, and who interest about the history of Saudi Arabia. So we try to give the history of Saudi Arabia in a simple way to give that chance for anyone to get the information easily without any complicated or something, in depth in the history.
The Saudi Press Agency, as a media outlet and the only national news agency in Saudi Arabia, and out of its responsibility to educate people about the history of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which started with the first and then the second and the current, the third Saudi state, the Saudi Press Agency established Saudi Arabia's History Exhibition, which targets students and diplomatic missions in Saudi Arabia and foreign visitors to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to introduce them to the culture, history, developments that this land has witnessed 300 years ago and until now, from 300 years ago till now, and the accomplishments that this state has made during this era under the leadership of the custodian of the two holy mosques and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, that made the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia position itself on the global map.
It highlights everyone, man or woman, who has contributed to the establishment and growth of the Saudi kingdom, beginning with the Saudi states and the swords and the establishment of foreign relations. The exhibition is structured in such a way that if you listen carefully, you could hear sounds reminiscent of the era and place in history.
Here we would like to introduce you to Saudi Arabia's national dance, Arda. It used to be war dance to terrify their enemies and perform to motivate also the Saudi army whenever they have any war with their enemies. They used to perform this dance with drums and so on. The Saudi army is motivated to beat their enemies during the era. And after the kingdom's unification and security reveal and development was there, this dance did not disappear. It became a national heritage to show pride and to celebrate the legacy of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So this dance is performed with every national occasion to celebrate the history, accomplishments, and to show pride about the long history of these three Saudi states.
On a separate wall are interactive screens that tell you more about Saudi kings and rulers and their achievements. The achievements of the current king, Salman bin Abd al-Aziz Saud, are highlighted on a different wall, including the launch of Vision 2030 in 2016.
Among these accomplishments or announcements or projects is the establishment of King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center in 2015, and also in 2016 the custodian of the two holy mosques approved the launch of Vision 2030, the vision of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And each year, during the era of the custodian of the two holy mosques, there were accomplishments that are made the kingdom position itself on the global map. If people will read tens of books, they will never know about the state. But if they have the interactive screens, the videos, the sound effects that are related with every era, and the images and everything as have been showed here, people will be able to memorize, know, and everything related to the state.
You also get a lesson on the stages of development of the Saudi national flag, which is observed as a public holiday annually on March 11th to commemorate the adoption of the unstandardized version of the country's national flag by King Abdulaziz ibn Saud in 1937.
It started from having a light color from the right side and the word "there is no God except Allah," which lasted from the first version of this flag until the current version. And to celebrate this flag, which has developed through ages and years and with made accomplishments, on March the 1st, the custodian of the two holy mosques issued a royal decree to celebrate the March 11 as the Flag Day of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
The exhibition ends with the accomplishments of the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman,
where we have all information about his education, his living accomplishments, and the awards that he has made in both languages, as we said, in Arabic and English. And here if we go to the 2018, we have some of the mega projects that he established. For example, he laid the foundation stone for King Salman for energy, and in 2019 he announced the vision of Al-Ula, and also he announced the establishment of the National Center for Economic, and 2022 witnessed the announcement of Roshan Company.
The exhibition targets various segments of society, especially youth and students in different educational institutions, and intends to provide interactive and informative content to help foreign media, official delegations, and members of the diplomatic corps form a comprehensive perception of the phases of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's history. We're also here in Riyadh for the Saudi Africa Summit, the first of its kind, where leaders rub minds on many issues important to them. Leaders from 54 African countries, including Nigeria, held talks with their Saudi counterparts on further investments in Africa, a day after Saudi authorities made major announcement on 15 loan projects on the continent through the Saudi Fund for Development.
We were successful yesterday to sign 14 loan agreements with 12 countries with an amount of $580 million US dollars. They will be financing 14 projects in the next 5 years. Actually, we haven't been approached by the Nigerian government in the past, and we tried to approach the Nigerian officials in order to start our operations, and the discussion is ongoing right now. Next year there will be a technical mission which will visit Nigeria in order to consider financing new projects in Nigeria. We know the role of the Nigerian government in the region, and we are looking forward to start our operations in Nigeria in the near future. Many targets. It's not only limited for development, but also for the investment. The African continent is adjacent to the Arabian Peninsula, and it's very important to the government of Saudi Arabia, and that's why we are considering improving our relationship with the African continent.
Your Royal Highness, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister.
Even though Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was in the session on Friday, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar, reiterated the President's call for foreign investments and how it fits in with the Saudi vision of 2030.
We must reconnect economies and key markets as a matter of survival. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 of post-hydrocarbon smart cities and Africa's Agenda 2063 of inclusive development provide a clear path to a future of peace and prosperity for developing countries. The African Continental Free Trade Area of 876 million talented youth is the political economy of the future, with Saudi Arabia as a partner for joint development and growth. Under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's leadership, Nigeria is committed to attracting business and investment by ensuring policy predictability, secure property rights, and effectiveness of contracts. We have hit the ground running with reforms that have established a unified exchange rate and made it easier for foreign investors to exit with their funds. Subsidies have been removed, and we're focusing on the real sectors of the economy instead of consumption.
He also joined calls for a humanitarian ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war and reaffirmed support for a two-state solution to the issue between Israel and Palestine.
We commend the Kingdom for its commitment to the defense of the legitimate rights of Palestinians. We also reaffirm our support for a peaceful resolution of the Palestine-Israeli conflict, anchored on the two-state solution in line with UN resolutions and the Arab Peace Plan. Nigeria and Africa share similar visions of durable peace in the region.
Speaking of which, on the sidelines of the Africa Summit, Saudi and Arab leaders held an emergency meeting on the Israel-Hamas war. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman called for an end to the war, saying, "We condemn what the Gaza Strip is facing from military assault, targeting of civilians, the violations of international law by the Israeli occupation authorities. We stress on the need to stop this war and the forced displacement of Palestinians."
انتهاكات سلطة الاحتلال الإسرائيلية القانون الدولي الإنساني لنؤكد ضرورة وقف هذه الحرب والتهجير القسري.
After their meeting, which continued into Sunday, November 11th, Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal ibn Farhan said at a press conference that any talk about the future of Gaza should only be about an immediate ceasefire. He stressed that a ceasefire demand is a unifying position of the Arab and Muslim countries, adding that they have the weight to be able to push in that direction.
United Nations Security Council has clearly shown that it is unable to live up to the expectations of the international community and that reform is absolutely necessary. But I believe that with the collective will of the Arab world and the Muslim world, and as His Excellency the Secretary General pointed out, the number of countries and the size of these countries, we have the weight to be able to push in that direction. And I am sure that we will do all that we can, and that with the instructions that we have received from the leadership of these countries now, that we will be taking a very, very strong message.
In the meantime, a Saudi plane left Riyadh on Sunday, November 19th, carrying aid and relief supplies for Gaza. It was scheduled to travel to Egypt's Arish airport in North Sinai. According to the Saudi foreign minister, ministers from Arab and Islamic countries will visit China on Monday, on the first stop of a tour that aims at ending the war in Gaza. On the sidelines of the Saudi-Africa Summit was a Saudi-Nigeria roundtable meeting where Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had the opportunity to sell Nigeria to the Saudi investors, the ministers, and the top business people who promised to visit Nigeria for the first Saudi-Nigeria Business Council.
Mr. President.
How are you?
Very well, thank you, sir.
Good to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Nigeria and Saudi Arabia headed towards ever closer ties, especially after the Saudi-Nigeria roundtable held on the sidelines of the Saudi-Africa Summit this weekend in Riyadh.
Good. How are you? Good to see you.
President Bola Tinubu wasted no time reassuring his host that Nigeria is the best place to do business in Africa, saying the elephantitis that plagued the nation's development and progress is cured, and Nigeria remains at the heart of Africa, serious and dynamic.
If I am to be the captain of this ship and the number one salesman for my country, I must say to you, the change is right here. We are blessed with a large population. This population is full of can-do attitude, young, vibrant, and well-educated human capacity. Equally, Nigerian consumer is necessary for the economic growth of the continent. So the elephantiasis is killed. From this moment on, we are open for business. You will have no better friend and partner than Nigeria. Instead of diversity, the strength, Nigeria is a captain of Africa. We are very serious and dynamic. We have the blessing of arable land for food security. We have the blessing of solid mineral resources, lithium, gold, and many other minerals that can be of great value for future development. We have the blessing of good weather. I can assure you that a free market economy is our goal. No red tapes, openness. I want to assure you, is easy in, easy out. You are free to bring in your capital. You are free to take it out. No more such frustrating restrictions. And I assure you, the ball stood on my table.
His words and conversations with the Saudi government officials leading up to the roundtable meeting in Riyadh did the convincing for the kingdom's Minister of Investment, Khalid Al-Fali, who praised both countries' sense of visionary leadership.
I just want to reassure you, and we take what His Excellency said extremely seriously. We leave here with warm hearts, with conviction that we have a bright future ahead of us, and we have a roadmap that has been charted by yourself, Mr. President, that is clear, that is reassuring, and that is going to be very fruitful and profitable for the business people who need profitable investments that are assuring of sustainability. And we're going to bring also the government forces to make sure that we pave the way and we remove the hurdles on both sides that bureaucracies, unfortunately, sometimes are specialized in creating. We will crush them with your direction, as you have repeatedly mentioned today. But good intentions don't take us anywhere. I think we have to put a plan, a work plan. So I would like to call through this work plan that we will do within the week to also conduct a lot of bilateral meetings, virtual meetings, physical meetings, to ensure that when we come, we hit the ground running in Nigeria, and this doesn't become another exploratory visit. This is going to be an action visit. We hope to do it within the next few weeks, if possible, before the year is up, if not early in the new year.
Other ministers and top business people on both sides highlighted areas of cooperation and investment.
We expand globally and we operate in more than 8 countries in the world, and we would like to explore the opportunities in Nigeria.
Many of the champions and the private sector here were relieved to hear that there are assurance, there are reforms happening, and we believe that with faith, determination, and hope, we believe miracles can happen, and we are true believers in miracles.
At the minute, we can't transport coal easily, right? So we need to be able to map where our solid minerals are, map our logistics and transportation system. As poor as the rail system may be, which we're now investing into, are we optimizing it? Are we optimizing the route that we have? Can we map those routes against where we have the solid mineral? So as we invest in more technology for people to actually excavate and get those things, we still need to ensure that we can get them to the ports where they can then be exported. That's where technology can play around. It's one of the things that we're looking to.
Free market economy, free flow of currency and capital. Mr. President has spoken about that. He has spoken so eloquently about Nigerian opportunities and how these opportunities can be harnessed and be partnered with the Saudi Arabian economy, the biggest economy in Africa and the biggest economy in the Middle East. And that is a partnership that is such a collaboration that can give the best that we can possibly have.
One thing we must go home with here is that even Mr. President has been able to gauge the temperature, the feeling of the Saudi. So you are going to see a lot of changes, not just in policy, but in action.
One of the outcomes of the meeting between Nigeria and Saudi government officials is the Saudi-Nigeria Joint Business Council, which will hold its first meeting in Nigeria in the coming weeks.
We have all the opportunities to get people in infrastructure, for example, in agriculture. There is so much there in solid mineral, in particular strategic solid minerals like lithium, like gold. So these are areas that Nigeria will benefit a lot. But it's not only a one-way affair, it's also two ways.
It is clear that both sides look forward to closer economic relations beyond the usual religious ties. The coming weeks and months will tell what impacts this meeting has had on Nigeria.
As healthcare professionals, I am absolutely humbled.
And finally, other discussions in diplomatic circles. The World Health Organization has led a team on a visit to Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital, describing it as a death zone, days after Israeli forces seized the premises to root out an alleged Hamas command center underneath. Two still images released by the WHO via X showed UN workers speaking to the medical staff as they assessed the situation. The WHO team reported signs of gunfire and shelling and a mass grave at Al-Shifa's entrance and said it was making plans for the immediate evacuation of 291 remaining patients, including the war wounded. Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani says what happened at Al-Shifa Hospital of forced displacement of civilians and patients is a crime. During a press conference with European Union Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell in Doha, Sheikh Mohammed said the pair discussed means to reach a permanent peaceful resolution to the crisis, adding that a ceasefire was top priority.
جريمة وللأسف لم نسمع صوتا للمجتمع الدولي لإدانة ذلك.
Lastly, thousands of Basque pro-independence protesters marched in Bilbao on Saturday in support of a deal made by the Spanish Socialist Party with Catalan and Basque pro-independence parties that allowed Pedro Sanchez to secure a new term as Prime Minister. Addressing thousands at a rally, Arnaldo Otegi, General Secretary of Basque Pro-Independence Coalition Party, EH Bildu, said his party's priority has always been to prevent the far right from getting into office. That's Diplomatic Channel. Thank you for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.